team, but we also need to do better as Nigerians to support him, because some of the comments that we get to see and report of them not being well taken care of and all of that. I remember that joke that wasn't so funny from one episode one time where they said, oh, some players had to wash their t-shirts so they could
their jersey. Like
it wasn't just it at all. It wasn't just it. But anyway, moving away from the world of sport, let's talk politics, leadership, and governance. Once again, my name is Esther Alaride.
And I am Miracle Philip.
The phone lines for you to join the conversation, 07000 917 917, or you can send us a text or a WhatsApp message on 070 56537. And for women, you can call the toll-free number 0800 1235 917. Now we go into the headlines this morning to see what we find, and I'll be starting off with the Vanguard newspapers. And on the Vanguard newspapers, 6 days after, whereabouts of kidnapped Delta ex-lawmaker still unknown. Soldiers nab wanted gun runner Hashim Ahmad in Kaduna State. Protest continues in Lagos today, says organizers. NDLEA seizes loud shipment hidden in 4 vehicles from Canada. Food inflation. Students groan on campuses. Okay.
On this day newspaper, JAM gives 30-day ultimatum to tertiary institutions to reveal admissions outside caps. Feel scarcity. Marketers seek Tinubu's intervention, say members at mercy of tank farm owners. Abductors demand 100 million naira for release of kidnapped local government chairman's aides in Kogi. Abdul Razak reiterates devotion to boost food security, tours rice, maize farms. Protests, some sacrifices needed to rescue economy, says Bagudu.
All right, on the Nation newspapers, President gets kudos for soul-winning national broadcast. Counting the cost of protest, billions in losses, widespread destruction. Federal government to establish building material manufacturing hubs nationwide. JAM gives varsities and others end of August to disclose pre-2017 illegal admissions. Akpabio didn't say they can protest while we'll be eating, says Eyibo. I'm not sure. Did you see that video? Well, let's not go into that. Moving over to Daily Trust.
On the Daily Trust newspaper, Atiku Shorinka Falana, others pick holes in Tinubu's speech. Police arrest 108 suspects for defying curfew in Yobe. Hunger protests, bereaved families mourn. Feel scarcity, marketers seek Tinubu's intervention.
All right. On the Guardian newspapers, experts see potential in African market, healthcare, and infrastructures. Police nab suspected abductors, killers of DVC Exo, Olaofe and others. NSC seeks appointment of engineers to head Lagos MDAs. CBN to adopt retail Dutch auction to tackle growing FX demand. Council autonomy or your chairman pull out of Algon to form new association. And we move over to the Punch newspapers.
Oh yes, and on the Punch newspaper, or your local government chairman float new association. Obaseki blames federal government for hardship as protesters worship on street. Ribado silent on Punch journalists abduction, stolen camera, phones. Local government autonomy will foster transparency, APC chieftain. Kwara seeks army support on monthly sanitation. Over to the pen pushing.
And finally, the pen pushing newspapers, bad governance protests. International Press Institute demands investigation, prosecution of security agents who fired live bullets at journalists. Protests. Atiku's campaign coordinator remanded in prison over All Progressives Congress secretariat burning. These are the headlines we have across different Nigerian newspapers this morning. Be a part of the conversation. Calling live 07000 917 917, or you can send us a text or a WhatsApp message on 070 56537. For women, you can call the toll-free number on 0800 1235 917. So, talking about the protest and how it went down last week, like some sort of overview. My concern, I have so many concerns actually, but we'll just allow for just touch on some of them. Going around seeing people's shops and houses, the vandalism that went on, and which were some of the concerns that
we raised
Nigerians
previously.
and we also raised earlier ahead of the protest. Now, also seeing how journalists were treated breaks my heart. like it's so sad that even as a journalist, it has become just so. Oh, I beg, muna come out, I beg. Now government
Mm-hmm.
will not fully follow Sudan
Mm-hmm.
and all of those things. Like people say these things, and I want to understand the thought process
Mm.
behind it.
Mm.
Like over the course of the protest up until this moment, I have seen different reports. From the Punch, I think from the Cable as well,
Yeah.
News Central,
Yes,
of
I watched
journalists who
that
have been
one.
treated unfairly.
Mm-hmm.
Even the NUJ Abuja chairman,
Yes, he
I
was
also,
arrested at some
yes, I also
point.
saw that the victimization, the oppression that journalists get to face, and every single time when it's press freedom, oh,
Oh,
please,
my dear, like I
let's.
remember we had a roundtable discussion right here on
And we
Women
spoke
Radio.
about it
Yes,
really.
and there were lots of journalists who shared their experiences. And to think that there's been no difference since that time till now, it feels like it's just that day. There's just this cloud chasing of, oh, we'll continue to press for it's a democratic society and all of that. And at the end of the day, we see the very opposite
Mm.
on the streets when journalists are out there trying to report.
Well, we're seeing organizations like the International Press Institute pick this one up and having to demand that the rights of journalists really, because if we get to a point in our society where even journalists are so scared that they cannot come out, or
Mm.
because I saw a particular report that was talking about, oh, journalists and reporters should stop reporting the activities of the protest. Tell me exactly what you want
How?
us to do.
What do you want
How
us
do
to
you want
do?
us to serve it? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it is public interest.
Mm-hmm.
Public interest. That is what it is. But again, as Nigerians, we're losing sight of a lot of things, but
Mm.
there's just so much to talk about. The phone lines are open 07000 917 917, or you can send us a text or a WhatsApp message on 070 56537. The toll free number for women only 0800 1235 917. We have Adeyemi Adeolu joining us this morning in the conversation. Good morning, Adeyemi. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Esther and Miracle.
Good
I'm
morning.
good, thank you. And you?
We're doing great. Thank you very much for joining us.
This is a pleasure.
All right, thank you. So we go into the headlines this morning to see what we find. We're just talking about the protest and how it went down last week, seeing what has happened across the different states. And one of the headlines also read today that some people will still be going out for the protest here in Lagos.
Yeah, even
And
after the president's
yes,
speech.
yes. And a lot of Nigerians also have concerns that the speech from the president did not resonate with the
Mm.
current realities to say,
Mm.
is there some sort of disconnect
Mm.
from the people and the presidency? Because if you look at the speech of the president,
Mm-hmm.
there's been so many reviews, so many comments to say the president did not necessarily answer to the things prevailing.
Yeah.
And also having to speak to our security agencies, also having to understand protest management, understand how to engage people. These people are out on the road. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
we know. We have people who have good intentions who just want to go and protest peacefully. And we also have people of the other divide as
Mm-hmm.
well. But having to manage it would have saved us all of the numbers that we're having to recall. Ugly numbers at that, at DME. Hi, Adeyemi, can you hear me? Are you there? So we'll just go into this headline this morning and we get to speak to Adeyemi.
Oh, yes. We'll start off with this from the Punch newspaper. It says Obaseki blames federal government for hardship as protesters worship on street. The Edo State Governor, Godwin Obaseki, on Sunday said the hardship in the country is blamable on the policies of the federal government. This was as hunger protesters in Edo State held a church service on the street. Obaseki, in a statement on Sunday, said his government had implemented several people oriented programs to reduce the suffering of Edo people in the wake of the difficult living conditions which the people have had to endure, arising from various policies that had been implemented by the federal government. Obaseki listed some of the programs to ameliorate the sufferings of the people, to include raising the minimum wage for workers to 70,000 naira to boost their purchasing power, which also I recall that some states are saying they cannot pay the 70,000 naira minimum
Mm-hmm.
wage. He said also that he introduced a free transport scheme along the routes operated by the Edo City Transport Service, extending free Wi-Fi services to public spaces to help citizens telecommute and kick starting a statewide feeding for the vulnerable, implemented in partnership with Christians and Muslim institutions, amongst others. Now, Adeyemi, looking at this, one would say, oh, looks like Obaseki is really reaching down to the people. I mean, with some of the measures that he's put in place, the connection with the people as well. There were lots of celebration when he actually, said he was really going to pay the 70,000 naira, minimum wage to workers. But looking at this at a wider scale now, if people feel like they're content with their governor but not content with their president, then there is a division, Adeyemi.
Well, that's one really that we need to pick up on, because when I saw this particular headline, I was just thinking, if people of this state, and do not forget that we also saw people from Edo State in Benin who came
Yeah,
out
yeah.
to protest as well, and there were people on the road. It is one thing. I mean, if you look at it, federal policies, they impact everybody.
Yes.
And even in the states, you would be shocked to know that regardless of whatever implementation initiative that is being done even at the state levels, there's some people who are still going to be cut out, that will still always need these interventions as well. So it is one thing for us to say that the presidency or at the federal level, that this is how it impacts everybody. The state governor is just coming out to say, okay, on my own part, this is what I have done. Because I
Yeah.
recall there was a conversation where Adeyemi was having to say, enough of focus on the federal level.
Federal
Let's
level,
look at
the state
the state
level.
level. Let's look at the government at these different levels. What exactly are they doing? What exactly are they using the funds that have been allocated to them to do? How exactly are they reaching out to the people? And some people will probably just say, oh, it is the governor trying to exonerate himself from one thing. I mean, you actually would not be able to say, oh, maybe he hasn't done so much, but the people who live in the states might be able to tell us better. Adeyemi, what do you think about this one?
Well, thank you very much. Talking about Governor Obaseki and his interventions. Yes, it's, when he came up there, we all applauded him that it was laudable. More so, even before the federal government,
Hello, Adeyemi. Adeyemi, are you there?
Hi, Adeyemi.
All right, Adeyemi, we'll try to reconnect with you in a bit. The phone lines are open 07000 or you can send us a text or a WhatsApp message on 070 317 56537. Adeyemi, are you back on?
Yeah, I'm back.
All right.
Yeah, I said no matter how we cast aspersion on the federal government of Nigeria, the state government also cannot be exonerated because, as a matter of fact, they are part of it. Why is it that when they go for
Oh dear, Adeyemi. Okay, so we'll try to reconnect. Okay, go ahead. Go
federal
ahead.
FEC meetings, why is it that they do not advise the president, particularly on the way to go, and even regarding the policy that has been implemented, whether they like it or not? And even let's look at it. The windfall that has been coming in from the subsidy removal. What exactly are the governors of this nation? What are they doing with it? Is there anything to show for it?
Hi, Adeyemi, are you there? Okay, yes, please go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you clearly. Yes, we can.
Okay. Like I said, the windfall that has been coming in through the petroleum subsidy removal. What exactly are the governors of these states doing with it, knowing very well that their allocation has tripled monthly? What exactly have they been able to do with it? Are the citizens of the states, have they been able to felt the impact of the bounty allocation that is coming to them monthly? No. So what we ought to do as a people is that we cannot continue. We cannot continue in people coming to tell us that it is this person that has caused. Every one of them are involved. Everybody is culpable in this matter we are talking about. They are all culpable. They are all our problems. the truth of the matter is that they have to go back, sit and have a rethink that the people of this nation are tired with their antics, that the people of this nation are tired with their so-called ways of life at the expense of the people. You see, they should stop behaving as if they are doing us any favor. They are not doing us any favor. We are the one that has extended favor to them by electing them in these offices. And we elected them based on the fact that they are trustees to manage our resources, whether at the federal level or at the state level. They are not gods. They should stop behaving as if whenever they implement anything that they feel is laudable, they are doing us a favor. No. And way back, when you remember way back, Obaseki started it. Whenever they do anything, they will say the dividend of democracy. What are you talking? Well, you see, these are nonsense. That's the honest truth. It is not the dividend of democracy, but the right of the people. So as it is, our right has been taken away from us. When the ordinary man cannot feed 3 square meals, when in school and cry and are falling out of school, or because they cannot pay for tuition fee, they cannot feed. And so what are we talking about? The people are dying of hunger. The country is in shambles. We are in a quagmire. And we are still people. You see, I even listened to I tried to go through the president's speech. When you people were talking about the president's speech, I don't expect the like Falana, everybody to say they're making loopholes. What the president has just demonstrated, in a simple logic, is that he's a dictator. That is exactly what he has proved. He has proven to us that he's a dictator, he's an oppressor. That is exactly what that speech reflected. And we must understand, and they also must understand, that he is there. This country does not belong to him. When the people that you are governing, the people that you said you want to help, says they are not comfortable with your policies, the best thing for you to do is not for you to come and defend that policy. The best thing for you to do is to reverse or look into it and channel it in another course.
Okay, Adeyemi, Adeyemi, let's look at it this way. One would say that just what if the people who get to work with the president in providing information and all of this are really the ones who are not in tune with the current realities? Because if you look at some of the comments here that people like Vice President Atiku Abubakar, Professor Wole Soyinka, Femi Falana, and some other members of civil society organizations having to fault the speech of the president, they kept focusing on the fact that he had not addressed the fundamental issues that triggered the protest in the country. Yes, he spoke about some initiatives on the ground and to be implemented, but this particular protest is coming due to the current economic hardship and insecurity in the north as well. But looking at this one, just if the president is not getting the right information, just maybe that may be because looking at that comment, there so many people have picked up a lot of areas that have not been touched to say the reason why people are even protesting, the reason why people are on the road. Some people have also said, oh, the president could have spoken to our security agencies to say, handle this protest better or deal with the people better, and not these numbers that we're having to record, because even journalists are not safe. People on the road are not safe. I saw some videos where some women came out and they had a pot in different states, having to show that there's nothing at all for them to feed on. So just maybe that's the case here.
Thank you very much, Esther. Yeah, when you are looking at what the likes of Soyinka are emphasizing on, you see, I'm not even looking it from that perspective. I'm looking it from the area, from this angle, that what exactly led to this problem. Do you know that if there is no hardship, if it's not too difficult for people to make a living as it is at the moment in this great country, Nigeria, the people will not go on street. There won't be any protest in the first instance. So what I'm looking at is the main issue. What is the main issue? What has characterized this hardship we are talking about? What exactly caused this hardship? It is what the president ought to address. And by the time that, if we were able to address it, I tell you that even the protesters and every Nigerians who will withdraw to our shells, as a matter of fact, even the issue of, manhandling and whatever, we will not talk about it. We will just go away and feel, well, it's one of the sacrifices that we ought to make. But as a matter of fact, now, the floating of the Naira, the subsidy removal, they said it is a good policy, accepted. But the means by which they are applying it, it is not good. It's even worse than the removal itself. The way I believe that the government should do, they ought to be logical and critical about their implementation. What is it I'm talking about? Now we have seen that giving this bounty, the windfall, adding it to monthly allocation of states in this nation, it is not helping matter. Why not use that windfall? Why not use it to revamp the refineries in Nigeria? Why do you have to make sure that our product has to go out of the shores of this nation before it can be refined? When we've got refineries everywhere in this country, we have about 4 refineries in Nigeria, and they are not working. The windfall is enough to revamp this refinery within months. I am telling you, if the government is sincere, you see the problem of the matter of this issue is that most of the people, whether the people in government and those who we call their cronies, they are the one benefiting. Even the past, not just the present government, the past government, every government that has ever come to be in this nation, they are benefiting from this hardship that you and I we are going through. All because they have one thing or the other that has to do with the economy of this nation that is beneficial to them and their family. So that's the problem we have. That is why you see that no solution is coming in that area. All because all their hands, the past and the present government, their hands are soiled in this issue of refinery. Their hands are soiled. That's the problem that we are faced with. Until they are able to let go.
Okay.
Until they have the understanding that whatever refinery they have outside the shores of this nation to be taken care of by the nation where their refinery is being established, rather than making sure that we, the citizens of this great nation, are the ones suffering it, even despite the fact that we've got refineries, and Dangote refinery is also there in Nigeria to help to solve this problem. So as a matter of fact, like I said, it is not the problem that we face in the course of the bad government. It is the problem that has led to the protest, that has led to the end bad government. And do not forget, talking about the bad government did not start with Alhaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But the fact of the matter is that this thing has been in existence over the years. And because we are not all speaking out, we have never had it this way in Nigeria before. Where even the North participate as they are doing today. We have never had it this way. All parts of the nation are protesting. This is to send a message to them. And my fear is that if the president will not yield or listen or do something tangible and allow this protest to go on, I will not be surprised if the khaki boys will come up again. That is what they need to avoid. I have been saying it long before now, that it is important for them to save their head by making sure that Nigeria is a place where everybody can live and be safe, so that what they are enjoying, that which they are enjoying, they can still continue to enjoy it. But the moment the reins change hands, they will not enjoy it. They pay the ultimate price for it. And we don't want it. We want our democracy to be sustained. We want Nigeria to be a democratically elected regime at every point in time. And so therefore, if we are going to maintain that stand, then the people at the ends of affair must put first the interest of the people and the nation before them, before any of their interests. That is what they need to look into at the moment, because now, today, the process is still ongoing. By the time it goes, it elongates, and people now see the needs for everybody to come out, and the streets are occupied here and there, that there is no movement. We are costing for another kind of government entirely, and we don't want that to happen.
All right, thank you very much, Adeyemi. Really. So this comment, looking at it, there is need for us to get the opinions of Nigerians on this one. To call in live, 07000 917 917, or you can send us a text or a WhatsApp message on 0703 56537. And for women, you can call the toll free number on 0800 1235 917. We'll look at some of the text and WhatsApp messages that we have here from Nigerians airing their opinions on this different issue. I mean, we've just heard Adeyemi's opinion this morning on some of the issues.
All right, we'll start off with this here from Olushoga Ajayi from Ikorodu says, I did not see any promises with reference to the demands of the protesters, namely cutting the cost of governance, electoral reforms, cost of living crisis. Nigerians needed to hear him address these issues specifically and head on with action plan for implementation. Okay, this here is coming from Fred from Ikeja says, this speech of the president is as empty as emptiness. He keeps saying, I will do this, I will do that, as if he is still campaigning for election. All right. And this here is coming from El Kennedy Victor says, good morning, WFM. I am compelled to express my concerns regarding the recent statements made by the president, which, while hopeful, has been juxtaposed with the disturbing rhetoric of upcoming protests advocating for the expulsion of Igbos. The sheer magnitude of animosity towards this group is alarming, and the lack of arrests made thus far is equally disconcerting. As an Igbo individual, I am reminded of the stark contrasts in treatment afforded to different ethnic groups. While Hausa and Yoruba individuals are met with acceptance when expressing their heritage, Igbos are criminalized and persecuted for doing the same. The fact that individuals have been allowed to publicly threaten violence against Igbos without consequence is a stark indictment of our society's tolerance for hate speech and violence. I'm left to ponder the state of our nation, where such blatant discrimination and marginalization are permitted to persist. This is coming from additional Wasiu Inikorodu says, good morning to you in the studio. The way out of the hunger that faces the nation today. Well, thank God for local government autonomy. If we want hunger to quit this country, the National Assembly must do the needful by mandate. All local governments in Nigeria are to buy a tractor to assist Association of Nigerian Farmers to fill the tractor and to use them to cultivate their farmlands and provide fertilizers. This will reduce cost of food production nationwide. Then we can be guaranteed of food security. And this message here is coming from Eze from Riverview Estate says, good morning, WFM. Just came back from the southeast where there was no protest and can never be because of bad governance. The speech of Tinubu lacks the necessary ingredients needed to douse the tension in the land. He talked about stopping bloodshed, violence, and destruction of properties. Has he forgotten that bloodshed, violence, and destruction of properties took place in Lagos during the last elections by his foot soldiers? He didn't see anything wrong in that. He also talked about the Igbo must go. Bayo Onanuga made similar statements after last year's general elections, warning the Igbos in Southwest because of the outcome of the elections. What was his reaction when Fashola deported some Igbos from Lagos?
So I think at this point in time, these conversations are going, it means that we haven't necessarily learned anything from having such conversations and such dialogues, really. Because if we're still having to look at these different issues that happen
bordering on
ethnic groups, it's one that calls for a lot of attention and it worries a lot. It means that we're losing focus on the bigger picture. The bigger picture here is Nigeria. If Nigeria as an entity is unsafe, whether you're from any part of the country, it would not matter. It is just going to be safety. I've never seen anywhere in the world where somebody's been rushed into a hospital and they have to ask the person, oh, where are you from? Are you
Igbo? Are you Hausa?
At that point in time, all that matters is your life, humanity. But a lot of us have just refused to come to the end of this understanding that we have and be able to move on to other conversations. I mean, this messages at this point in time, it's just necessary that we get to remind ourselves that these conversations around ethnic groups, ethnic sentiment, really, we need to move on from there because there are bigger issues. There are bigger issues, really.
Well, this is coming from Mr. Prince. Says, "Good morning, Nigerians." His speech lacked hope, empathy. Read out a leaked speech, did not reduce his cabinet, did not address the hunger, did not address his wastefulness, did not address lavish spending, did not address the looting of palliatives, did not reduce the fuel price. The speech was pre-recorded. Threats and anger unleashed in his speech. Go ahead and protest was in his speech. Disrespect was noticed in his speech. The script that was read and acted by skit makers before the annoying 7 a.m. broadcast. What is the balance about that speech, please? Nigerians, will you keep quiet? And bad governance protests, he says. And here it is from Anderson from Itoki. Says, "Good morning, Esther, and of course our analyst. In assessing president's broadcast over hunger protests, it is nothing but dictatorialistic in democratic setting, but by so portraying insensitivity, I don't care attitude, you are on your own attitude. And with this, I'm asking, what is the position of a dog in the mosque?" Okay, this is coming from Barrister Ugo Osuji from Festac. It says, "Good morning, WFM, Esther, Miracle Philip, and our analyst Adeyemi Adeolu. And bad governance and hunger in Nigeria protest continues in Lagos on day 5. I doubt, given what happened yesterday, as hoodlums, aka beautification of area boys, made good their threats by attacking protesters and journalists in the very before of the Nigeria military and police unscathed. Ditto in Abuja, as protesters received live bullets and barrages of tear gas shot at them, as FCT Commissioner of Police personally seized the telephone of a journalist. Names withheld. Are journalists no longer the fourth estate of the realm, given Section 22 of the Constitution 1999 as altered, though the Constitution, Decree number 24 1999, remains a lie document? Query. Were the likes of journalists, a manpower of the CNN, not allowed to cover wartime engagements and civil protests? Hot protesting Nigerians' problems are not necessarily from their stars nor from their making, but because they are underlings whose parents might have supported and supervised the erection of bad governance on a mere 1 cup of rice seasoning cube, and tribalism. Alas, the president made a broadcast that was not only vacuous, rather reminiscent of a campaign speech, even when 2027 is not within mother's call. Heard that Nigerian students are complaining about what needs to be done against the government, which they couldn't aggregate with their end bad governance and hunger in protesters. In Catholic, the animal had passed and the bush is still shaking. Hence, the likes of Professor Shoinka made lame talks about the protest yesterday. Could a protagonist or playwright, poet a la prose, the man died, sound believable again in Nigeria body politic, barring his feudatory intrigues? The protesters have delivered their messages as these little Caesars strutting the corridors of power, thinking that there is no life after power, must subdue their arrogance and braggadocious and to the listen and do the needful before they smell the coffee. I humbly submit.
All right. Thank you very much, Miracle, for taking our text and WhatsApp messages. It is 6 minutes past 8 on your Women Radio 91.7, and we're reviewing the dailies across the different Nigerian newspapers. Be a part of the conversation. The phone lines 07000 917, or you can send us a text or a WhatsApp message on 070 The toll free number for women only 0800 1235 917. Thank you very much, Adeyemi, for staying with us up until this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me this morning.
All right, thank you. So there we have it. I mean, if you look at some of the comments, Miracle, this morning, you can tell that there is a lot of tension in the air. People have different areas that they are focused on. People have different agitations, which really, when you get to look at it and how these conversations have gone from before the protest up until this moment, and people also still saying that yes, they don't mind going out for the protest to see until they get their demand. I think it was in Edo State, Benin, where a lady was talking about her coming out every single day to protest until the government really responds. Now the president has made a speech, and
a lot of Nigerians saying it's not
say yes, he
convincing
hasn't
enough.
said what they want to hear. Will this protest continue like this? Will people keep staying on the road and waiting till they get the actual response that they need? That's what we're asking Nigerians this morning. The phone lines 07000 917 917. We have joining us in Kechi Emmanuel Liade Sage now. Good morning, Sage now. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Esther. Good morning, Miracle.
Good morning.
Good
Your voice
morning.
is a bit faint, although I can hear you.
Okay.
It's just a bit faint.
Oh,
So
okay.
I think it's better now. It's getting better.
All right. Thank you very
so
much
for having me. Good morning to our newspaper review family.
Thank you, Sejinel. Thank you very much for joining us. Let's hear from this caller. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, WFM.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm calling from Ikorodu. My name is Thaddeus.
Good morning.
Good morning. To the aspect of the announcement that our president announced, I see nothing. I don't see anything there. Okay, let's take it for instance now. In terms of agriculture, the farmers now, he made a statement yesterday that he has already bought fertilizer and they are going to share it to the farmers. Okay. The farmers now, are they guaranteed that if they go to farm now, are they secure in the farm? No, they are not secure because of this Fulani herdsmen are there. Fulani herdsmen are everywhere, not only in the part of the north. Even if you come to Niger Delta, they are also there. They are also in the southwest. They are also in the southeast. We see them all the time. They even normally killing our people.
So you see this comment. You see this comment about banditry and people being affected in the farms, people being killed in the farms. Yes, we'd like to reiterate that you cannot again attribute this to a particular ethnic group, and we'll keep saying that they are bandits because we've had different reports that have said in some cases these people are not even Fulani herdsmen like people have gone run along with over the years. So that's why we keep saying this.
You see, the herdsmen are always they normally come with their cattle. They come with their cattle there. I saw like not one. I saw it not three occasion. These same people
personally
they have ammunition. They have ammunition they carried around. They carry guns now. We normally see them. We have caught about 2 or 3 in my state, in Delta State. To push. Okay, Nigeria can provide security. Okay, Nigeria says they made a comment last week that they want to bomb illegal refinery in this illegal refinery. Is it not in the jungle? The refinery is okay. The national Nigeria effort to go and destroy this illegal refinery. What of this same men? The military men in this country, they don't know that. They know where they are. They know all these things. Okay, if you don't want the military, our Nigerian military to go, why can't they hire a mercenary to take care of the job?
All right. Thank you very much for your comment. Thank you very much for your comments. The phone lines are open 07000 917 917. Be a part of the conversation this morning as we get to review the dailies from different Nigerian newspapers this morning. Sage now, we're still talking about the protest, the ongoing protest, and as we've read the reports that is saying that people would still go back to the streets today, and people also having to look at the comment of the president to say this announcement hasn't really changed anything. It hasn't responded to the plight of the people.
So I hope you can hear me, Esther.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, good. Yes, so the thing is, I think a lot of people have analyzed in truth and facts the way the speech came across yesterday. And so I'm not even really going to dwell on that. I'm going to dwell on the how. And this is something I've continued to emphasize here anytime I have the opportunity to share. The biggest thing that the people needed at this particular point in time was more of a conversation and a chat, a presidential chat, a presidential conversation beyond just the speech. Now, many people had many things to say regarding if it was pre-recorded. In fact, there was some narratives on the X saying, AI, all that. Of course, people would just have their opinions based on what it is that they feel, or even based on their personal frustration. But what was told to us was that it was a live broadcast. Well, for me, since I wasn't there, I cannot confirm if it was pre-recorded, if it was recorded, if it was live on air. But the thing is the how. I've said it here before. The how rather is as important as the what of what you are communicating. If I come on here as an analyst and maybe I start shouting or, I just start behaving weird. Yes, I'm an analyst that's passionate, but the how is not going to even allow anybody understand what I'm saying, because I'm just shouting or whatever the case may be, or behaving weirdly, just as an example. Now, this how thing is a game changer. Even if you don't have all the answers to all the questions, there's a way that you would come across, there's a way that you would communicate that will make people know that you empathize with them. Just the same weekend, Esther Miracle, we had, in the name of this analysis, thing, this whole process, of course, the process for end bad government has been on. Somebody came on air trying to explain this thing. I think the person is from the office of the presidency, working with the president, and came on air in the bid of trying to explain why Nigerians shouldn't come out. Started using an example of how our daughter is in Dubai and how the school is as why am I bringing that up? That just speaks about the lack of empathy. We are talking about people who have not eaten. Gary is a cup of 200 is expensive for people. Someone else is talking about how the school fees in Dubai has increased in dirham and in the currency, the Dubai currency, and then we are talking like, how do you want to communicate? Like, how are you trying to? What empathy are you showing to the people? And so that is the situation. And for me, that's where I really want to camp on today. If as a people, or if the presidency wants to, the president or the office of the president, those who's working with the leaders, want to really connect with the people, this whole situation of whether coming out to read, whether it was a read document, a document being read out, or a document being spoken, it doesn't even matter at this particular point in time. This is not time for speech. This is the time for conversation. And to show that, yes, you truly feel what people are feeling, they have a conversation. There are conversations that can be had that the media will create that is not going to be disrespectful. Because, again, when I see this rigidity in having all these sort of speeches that is not connecting to anybody, I'm wondering what's the fear about? Is there a problem? This is a conversation we're having. We're live. We're going back and forth. So, what's the fear or what's the issue? Because it's something that anybody can do, especially the president of the nation. So, for me, those are the questions I have. Of course, I'm sure many people have said it. The fact that the speech did not even cover many things. That is already another problem. It was explaining this and that. But what people need now is empathy, not explanation. Trust me, the woman who is selling corn or the man who is trying to bring in yam to sell doesn't really understand that speech. And that's what we're always saying here. What's the test of what it is that you are communicating? Does the average person understand what you are saying? It's not about the English. Yeah, it's not about that. It's about, so in other words, what does this mean for the person living within this age bracket, within this salary bracket, within this income bracket? That is how you know that there has been connection and communication. So for me, that's where I would start out, and we can keep the conversation going from there. But it just, for me, the fact that they lacked empathy and the fact that we need to really start pulling out for this whole. I know that, as I closer from this point, there are conversation that a president that didn't come out for a debate, is it the one that wants to come and do a chat or whatever? But people are not going to connect with you if that is not tried out. I'm not saying that is the solution to all the problems, but we need to answer live questions so that you can connect with the people. Well, except connecting is not important, because that's the first point. Because apparently everything that has been demanded for needs time. It needs to happen one step at a time. But the first meeting point is connection and established empathy, not perceived empathy, like the office of the presidency may think that they have established.
All right. Thank you very much, Signal, for your comment. 18 minutes past 8, and we're still on Women Radio 91.7 reviewing the dailies. We'll look at some of the messages that we have here from dear Nigerians reacting to these different stories.
Okay, and this here is coming from Dio from Fagwa. Says, "Good morning, crew. It's unfortunate that security and other institutions have been compromised by one man, like they say. Loyalty, na cash and carry, objection, na mortuary. It's unfortunate that your police force don't know how to handle a peaceful protest that later led to the 11th innocent people killed. Also, 14 coastal buses were used to convey counter protesters yesterday in Abuja to disturb and intimidate the real protesters. Case study NSAS and 2023 elections, where Aguero's police and army were used against the people to intimidate and harass voters from voting. It's a shame that the worst of us is ruling the best of us. Truly, there was a country. And this here is also a message from Eze from Riverview Estate. Says, inadvertently, he agreed with Peter Obi that our economy had nosedived under APC. He made mention of dignity of human rights, which Nigeria is a signatory. We are seeing what is going on. Before this protest, there were threats from government to those who planned the protest, and true to that threat, the rights of the protesters and journalists had been violated. He didn't need to tell us that he is a president in a dictatorial way. We know he is by default. I still do watch. Okay. This here is coming from Rosen Olawale from Alakwera. Says, "Good morning, dear presenters. Petroleum prices have been fixed for some times now, yet prices of goods and services keep going up without coming down at all. Manufacturers, marketers, and the market sellers keep increasing prices of goods and services every now and then because government failed to check them. The unnecessary protest is making it more harder for the common man to live. For how long shall we continue like this? Bad followers will never produce good leaders. Nigeria will survive. Allah bless Nigeria." And this message is coming from Victor Anya from Ogba. Says, "Good morning, WFM. President Bola Tinubu in his speech said that governors and the federal government are now receiving more money following the removal of fuel subsidy. What have ordinary Nigerians benefited from the removal of fuel subsidy? The removal of fuel subsidy has helped to push more Nigerians into the poverty line since their businesses have been shut down. What are the benefits of creating more ministries when the same government is complaining about scarcity of funds? What has the Ministry of Blue Economy contributed to the country?" This is coming from Destiny from Ikorodu. Says, "Good morning, WFM family, Esther, Miracle, and our analyst. It hurts so much to note that people that are supposed to know better are just talking like people who know nothing. A defense chief asked journalists not to cover the protest, and we started hearing journalists being molested, meaning that they were intentionally sending live coverage away from them to do things that are against the fundamental rights of the people. I really don't blame them, but the journalists should quit covering their speech in solidarity of all journalists that have been molested over time. We just can't continue with such irrational behaviors from organizations set up to protect, but being the ones molesting the people. God bless Nigeria."
All right. Thank you very much, Miracle. Sage, now, what do you say to this messages? What your reactions will be?
Okay, so there has been a lot of, I'm just going to speak to them generally and then just from some of the things I've been hearing over the weekend. This journalist situation, I don't know why it is, although this is not the first time, but it's quite appalling, the fact that we're having this situation with journalists. Journalists are now being, I don't want to use the word threatened, but we're seeing that in some cases, or they're trying to be regulated in what it is that they cover. These are part of the issues. This is why there's the End Bad Governance process. The journalists are the journalists. They only cover what exists. If it doesn't exist, it will not be covered. So I really don't know what the issue is. If there's a big issue that is to be fixed, then fix the situation that is happening so that when the journalist covers it, they cover what's maybe a good part of it or the good situation, not a good part of it. Because if there's a bad part and a good part, it's supposed to be covered by journalists. So instead of us, what I see, instead of our leaders paying attention to fixing the problem, They are trying to, is this perception thing I'm saying again, they are trying to fine tune the perception and make it look a certain way. And this is not going to make us move forward. It's like a person who is severely sick. Instead of the person to solve the sickness from the root, whatever the root is, the person is trying to dress up, make up, and look okay. When the person is severely sick, if you push the person just a bit. So I think that it's just thinking like that is going to even help to say, what are the issues and how do we need to solve it? This is not the time to be telling or to be controlling, telling journalists, do this, don't do that, or imprisoning people. There are all sorts of authentic news. Although they may not make it to the mainstream media, there are authentic news of this whole journalist, whether they are in prison today, this one is beaten tomorrow, just back and forth that we really need to work on. Because the question we need to ask ourselves is, what are we covering? And I want to react to something, I think before perhaps the DME may have covered it, but just real quickly. Okay. The one about this tribe, I heard it when I came on, the tribalism and people using tribe is quite unfortunate. It's quite unfortunate. Yesterday I happened to just be going through the X app, and I came across a very strange Twitter space that was going on. Apparently, and just out of respect, I won't call the tribe, I just wouldn't. These people had gathered together, and they were saying, "Oh, let's work together to make Nigeria better for their set of people." For the effect of people. I'm really tempted, but I will not name it. And that was, when you have situations like that, you have people come together to let's make Nigeria better for ourselves. Like you and Miracle, like Miracle we're talking about. When you go to the hospital, will you say, so what tribe?
Exactly.
Where are you part of it? Are you part of that? Nobody says that. You just attend to the person, especially in the case of emergency and so on and so forth. Even in the market, when you want to buy, they say, take your smelly money away. You are not this tribe.
Nobody
so it's quite unfortunate that. Hello?
Yes.
Okay. You can hear. Yeah, it's quite unfortunate that we have situations where people have gotten degraded to the point where they are gathering together in a meeting and say, "Oh, let's make Nigeria better for ourselves." It just doesn't make any sense. And back to what I said last week, I think it was Monday, this healing needs to be done. We have a lot. In fact, that proved to me even deeper that this healing thing I was talking about is just so valid. It may look like, well, it's our problem now, but it is. Because when you have people gathering to say, let's make this thing better for this place, this tribe or that tribe, then it shows that we're not ready to move together as one. So that will be my reaction to some of the texts that we have listened to, and of course the phone calls as well.
All right. Thank you very much, Sitchnell. Thank you for lending your voice to this conversation. Really, I'm really hoping, and I think it was on Thursday, I was telling a friend that I think it's actually time for me to do some kind of detach or just leave the X app, because every single day you get to see conversations like this on different spaces and different comments, and you then want to come day-to-day life and relate with people like, I don't know what you're saying about people from other places. And you just expect, I'm really hoping that we don't get to the point where people cannot even see eye to eye anymore, because these things are really getting out of hand. Yes, we can talk about how some people are not affected, some people being the focus, but it is getting out of hand. Again, I'm hoping that we get to see some kind of announcement or some kind of jingles, adverts being put out there by the National Orientation Agency to say we are one.
We are united. Exactly.
I really do not understand it, because even some of our leaders as well, in their comments, the kind of things that they say also, it goes unchecked.
Esther, with what you've actually said, I think it's about time we begin to look at how intentional this government is. They are aware, are they not, of the undertones, of the sentiments?
My grounds is even with the National Orientation Agency, really. That's where my focus is. Come out and tell people, oh, you're not supposed to be speaking this way to this person based on a particular sentiment or religion or whatever it is that you hold. But until they choose to do what is right, we're still going to be keep talking about these issues, and we'll keep calling their names. Really, thank you very much, Sejna, for being on the program this morning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I'll just, as my final words, I'll just say it is very important, just like you rightly said, that we do not just allow just one perspective of things to infiltrate our hearts without getting different other perspectives. This is very important. So you don't turn into a bitter person, or you just don't turn into a person with a myopic mind. Please, let's be open-minded, and let's be very adamant in making sure that we work in unity. Because if you are adamant with that, it doesn't matter what one person is holding as in one meeting, or what they are whispering in your ear. You would always come from a bigger place and a bigger perspective of what is better for Nigeria. So if we all go out with that mindset, at least we can communicate to our community members, our friends, and one step at a time, while we wait for the government to do their necessary part through the orientation agency, we'll be able to make steps and make progress one step at a time. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you very much, Sage. And thank you to Miracle for being on the program this morning.
Thank you very much, Esther. It's always a pleasure.
Yes, it's a wrap on the conversation this morning. Do well to join us again tomorrow. Be on the newspaper review here with us at 7:30 as we get to review the dailies across different Nigerian newspapers. Do well to join us today at 9:05 on Panorama with the ladies from different geopolitical zones. My name is Esther Alaribe. Good morning.
Have you been a victim of corruption? Do you want to report how corruption affects you and your community? Send an SMS or WhatsApp message to 0703 175 6537.
Globally listed and recognized as an anti-corruption advocate dedicated to cleaning up corruption in Nigeria, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, a two-time finance minister, introduced publishing of each state monthly financial allocation from the federal government. This singular act contributed significantly to increased transparency and accountability in government. A world-renowned financial expert, Ngozi has earned her pride of place as the director